Hello everyone and welcome back to Milo Farms. Well, we're out in the shop again today doing the seasonal maintenance on this 2003 Yamaha RX-1. Today we're going to be going over the oil change for this. So we've already started with pulling off the right side cover. We did that when we changed the chain case oil a little bit ago. So that's already done. But the way to get that off is to take the screw out that's here and the screws that wrap all the way around here, and then the screws across the bottom and the screw in the back. Then it'll pop off right here and the whole side cover will come off. So once you've gotten in here, you have the sump for the oil right here. You have the dipstick and the sensor for the oil right here, and that's also where you fill the oil. Then we have one oil drain right here, and we have another oil drain far underneath that you'll drain out the bottom of the crankcase with. So let's get started by taking off the bottom cover of the engine, and then we'll get that oil started to drain. So right down here under the bottom of the engine, you have this plastic pan, and you go ahead and take off the Allen screws on that. I think there's 3 in the front and 1 on each side, so 5 total. Go ahead and take those screws loose and remove that plastic pan. Now that we've got that pan off, you can see right there in the middle is that darker colored bolt with the copper washer behind it. We're going to go ahead and take that out and drain the oil into the drain pan. We've already gone ahead and warmed the engine up, so everything has been stirred up in there and the oil's a little bit warm. While that lower one's draining into your drain pan, you want to position your drain pan so you can hit the other drain that's on the bottom of the tank as well, and go ahead and take this bolt out. On both these drain plugs, if they've never been taken out or somebody put them in way too tight, they are extremely tight and they can break off, or worse yet, you can actually twist out this little section that holds the bolt in the bottom of the tank. So you want to be very careful if you're taking those out for the first time or if somebody over tightened them. While that's draining, every few years you're going to want to take out these 2 screws right here and pull out a small screen filter that's inside of there. Every few years you can clean that. It doesn't get much on it, but occasionally you'll find some kind of a fibrous looking thing maybe out of the filter or something like that. But usually it's not too bad, and like I said, I'd recommend that every few years. As far as the oil filter goes, Yamaha recommends changing it, if I recall, about every 10,000 miles or something. It's very, very long increments, but you can find it in the owner's manual. To get to that, you'll have to disassemble a bunch of stuff on the machine. You'll have to take off the air box and the battery, and then right down in the very bottom, right in the middle, is where the oil filter sits. So I usually change that oil filter every couple of years, and at the same time I clean this filter out here. You want to let those continue to drain until all the oil is finished dripping. It may take a little bit because it's got a lot of orifices and everything that it drains down out of. So once those are done dripping and draining, go ahead and put the plugs back in. Once you've got the plugs put in, go ahead and make sure you put the bottom pan back on and put all those bolts in. Then go ahead and we'll get ready to fill the oil. We've got our engine oil here. It's a 0W30 Yamalube. The original owner's manual says use 530 engine oil in it, and the newest rendition from Yamaha says you should now use 030. There's regular car engine oil that is 530 or 030 available on the market, but per the book it says to use the Yamaha oil due to the clutch on the starter. It can cause it to slip. So make sure you use the right oil. You may be able to be fine with the other oil, but I've always had good success with this. The engine takes about 3 to 3.5 quarts depending on how much oil you got out of it. Supposedly completely dry it can take up to 4 quarts. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with 3 and see where that puts us. To add the engine oil, you're going to go ahead and unhook this little plug right here and get it out of the way. And then you're going to unscrew the dipstick, which is also the sensor for the oil, and you're going to pull this out. The original sensor and gauge indicated that you want about 1/4 inch less oil in the reservoir than you would on the new gauge. This is a new dipstick here because the original one broke. So they did change that somewhere along the way to indicate putting 1/4 inch more oil in the tank than original. So go ahead and get your funnel in and fill it up with 3 quarts to start with. Go ahead and reinstall the dipstick and plug the sensor back in, and then start it up, let it run for a minute or two, and shut it off to check the oil. So we checked the oil, and when you check the oil, you want this sensor just touching, not threaded in all the way. So we checked it, ended up adding about 3.1 or 3.2 quarts all together to get it to that full mark. And we ran it, everything's doing good. And so we're gonna go ahead and put the side cover back on, and that will finish up the oil change. So hope everybody enjoyed the video. Remember, you can't finish a project without getting started.